If I were to say Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, what comes to mind? Probably not the ability to fly. Roc's feather is an item that first appeared in Link's Awakening, granting Link the ability to jump. But I decided to take it one step further and give Link the ability to fly. Then, I wanted to play through Ocarina of Time because I wanted to see how broken this could be. And in case you're wondering, how is this possible? The answer is rather simple. So the intro plays, and I find out I can levitate during cutscenes. Once I'm in Link's house, I try and fly up, but I end up going out of bounds. Then I respawn inside of the table. Yeah, suddenly Link is James Hetfield. I levitate some more during the Saria cutscene. Then fly over to get the Kokiri sword. Link looks pretty ridiculous flying around. It's actually pretty funny. Anyways, I grab the sword, then I leave this area. I then decide to just fly over to the Great Deku Tree. Since I was far away, and probably because I didn't touch the ground, whatever causes the next part to load in, didn't. So I end up skipping the cutscene and was able to enter the Deku Tree. I fly around a bit while I'm inside, but then I remember I can't get the slingshot without the Deku Shield, so I leave. What the? Well, so much for skipping the cinematic. I wonder if the Deku Tree is mad I'm floating around while he's talking. The Deku Tree then opens his mouth, which reminds me a lot of an adult Zelda video I saw once. But I leave for now and grab some Deku sticks on the way. Fun fact, I can't talk to this Kokiri girl while I'm standing beside her. I can't fly over the one kid stopping me from leaving, so I fly above him and drop into the exit. I talk to Saria while flying around, and she gives me the fairy ocarina. If I fly during the cinematic, it turns out Link is just off to the side. Once I get to Hyrule Field, I try to fly past Kabora. You know, this guy, the annoying ass owl. I actually managed to get to Hyrule Castle without it turning night on me. And I can fly up and get the red rupee that you normally need to climb the chains for. I go into this room by the entrance, grab a Skulltula, then I found this weird glitch when I tried to pick up one of the pots and fly. Look everyone, Link's a pothead! I go into the market, talk to Malon, then go to the castle. I talk to the annoying ass owl again, get a Skulltula, then fly over and talk to Talon. Since it's nighttime, I get caught just to respawn at the beginning, so I can talk to Malon and get the egg. I run around for a bit until it hatches, and before I go wake up Malon's dad Talon, I try to fly onto the castle. I ended up falling through into some invisible water. Then I wake up the Wish version of Mario, and I head inside to the castle courtyard. One cool thing I found out was, if I exit, the boxes are put into place. I like when the game does things for me. Anyways, it's time to go meet Zelda. At this point, the whole flying thing is pretty ridiculous. I can just fly past all of the guards here, but I do have to make sure to land so the camera moves. I make it to the castle courtyard pretty easily. Once here, I fly into the room with the paintings. Only there's no solid floor, so I'm unable to land. I check out the other room, not much here. Then I go to where Ganondorf comes in. I can stand on the rug here. I was hoping there would be a little bit more in here, like maybe you would see Ganondorf standing around, but there's nothing really here. I am able to go to the windowsill and just look at Zelda, but I can't Z-target her or even talk to her. I jump through, then I talk to her. As you could probably guess by now, I fly around during the cinematic. I doubt Ganondorf saw me, as I was floating like 5 feet above the windowsill. Zelda tries to give me her letter, but I start flying when she does it, and I ended up glitching the game. I can't move or talk to her, I can just fly, so I need to do this again. Fast forward through all this, and I finally get the letter. Impa's here, and she's the only person who won't let me fly around her. I think it's funny how characters' heads move to look at Link, even when he's floating in the air like 10 feet above them. Imagine seeing someone perform a song while flying around like this. Link should join the band Kiss if he's gonna do something like that. We head outside the Hyrule Field, and Impa disappears like she's Batman. I then head to Lon Lon Ranch. I learn Epona's song since I'm here, but I doubt I'll need it later. And yes, I flew into the air playing this song too. Epona neighs at me as she's never seen a person fly, and the annoying ass owl flies by too. I go into the building here, and I try to get the heart piece by flying around. After I got it, I realized I'm stuck. I can fly into the room, just not out. So I reset and I come back to Lon Lon Ranch. I collect a Skulltula, and I head inside to grab my first bottle. This minigame isn't too hard, especially when you know whereabouts the Cuckoos land. Now he's asking me about marrying his daughter, and then he gives me a bottle of his special milk. Ugh. Next is Kakariko Village. I grab some more Skulltulas, as I can't remember if the adult's wallet needs 10 or 20 of them. Also, I can jump slash in the air to take out not only enemies, but Skulltulas too. And if you want the heart piece on top of the building early, you can side jump from up here, and if you hold left, you'll land on this ledge, allowing you to get on top of the house. Next, over here, I fly up onto the ledge and go into the house to grab the cow heart. Then, I go inside the windmill and get the heart piece there. I try and see if I can get the hookshot early, but it doesn't look like I can. Before I go any further, I stop by the graveyard, just so I can fool around a little bit. I know I can't enter the Shadow Temple right now, but I figure if I fly over, not everything would be loaded, allowing me to possibly get in. And I got in. But there wasn't really much I could do, so I just left. Before I leave the graveyard though, I go onto this ledge here, and I get the heart piece inside of the crate. Next, I want to go inside the royal family tomb so I can learn the Sun Song. I take out the keys in the first room. In the second room, I fly past the Re-Deads. Then I go into the chamber where I can learn the Sun Song. And if I fly during the cinematic, you can see Link is actually by the entrance. Normally you won't see him because there's a bunch of stuff in the way, but I thought this was pretty cool. When I try to fly up and out of here, it didn't work, so I just dropped through the ground. Back in town, I need the bottle from the chicken lady, so I have to collect all the cuckoos. And honestly, flying around makes it super easy, barely an inconvenience. Next, I head to Zora's River. The annoying ass owl is back. I grab another Skulltula. I make my way up the river, and I get the heart piece that's up on the ledge here. I fly above the walls, so the next part isn't loaded. The geometry is still here, but without the waterfall being here, I can get into Zora's domain without Zelda's Lullaby. I mean, I do have Zelda's Lullaby, but this looks really cool to do. After I enter Zora's domain, I leave quick so I can grab the heart piece and the Skulltula outside. Then I head back inside by flying over the waterfall and landing in the entrance. I fly up the waterfall inside to talk to the Zora and play the minigame. I jump off and I ended up landing on this rock, which hurt. I collect the rupees, then fly back up and get the silver scale. Next, I light the torches in the area so I can get this heart piece. I take the passage to Lake Hylia and get the next bottle. I change it to day so things look brighter. Then I fly up to get the heart piece on top of the lakeside laboratory. And I fly up the huge tree just because I can. You can use the long shot to get up here as an adult, but I've never been up here as Kid Link. I go back to Zora's domain, and even though I can fly over the king, I talk to him to empty the bottle I just got. And this is probably the worst cinematic in this game. It's so annoying watching him do this. Now that he finally moved, I can finally head back to Lake Hylia and make my way to the desert. When I enter Hyrule Field, I fly to the side here to ignore the annoying ass owl. In Gerudo Valley, I get the heart piece behind the waterfall, and then I fly back up. Next, I make my way to Gerudo's fortress. I start by flying up to the prison because there's a heart piece I want to get up there. Then I go to this chest. Normally you're supposed to get it as an adult and it has a heart piece in it, but it actually has an odd mushroom in it when you're a kid. That's weird. Was not expecting that. Next stop, the Haunted Wasteland. Since I know where on the map the exit is, I just fly there, which skips needing the Lens of Truth. Yeah, I got to the Desert Colossus through the power of flight. First things first though, got to grab the heart piece. I head inside just so I can leave, which causes Sheik to show up, and you know, I just had to fly around while she teaches me the Requiem of Spirit. And of course, the annoying ass owl is here too. I fly up to get the silver gauntlets, and of course I have to talk to the annoying ass owl. I thought he just flew off. Why is he bothering me still? If you notice, I'm not wearing the Goron's bracelet, but if you pay attention after I get the silver gloves, the game just gives them to me. I'm guessing it assumes that I've already have them, so when I get the silver gauntlets, it just gives them to me anyways. I fly up as I get the gauntlets, then I watch the cinematic. Before I get the mirror shield, I try and fight the Iron Knuckle. The fight honestly wasn't going too bad, but after I hit him, if he does a vertical slash, I'm too small to move away in time. I ended up dying. Anyways, I get the mirror shield. So let's see what I have. Fairy Ocarina, 3 bottles, Deku sticks, Zelda's letter, Kokiri's sword, tunic and shield, the mirror shield, silver scale and gauntlets. I got 11 Skulltulas, Zelda's lullaby, Epona's song, Sun's song, Requiem of Spirit. I seem well stocked, so I save the game, then I reset to teleport me back to Kokiri Forest. Now that I'm back here, I head for the Lost Woods. Of course, the annoying ass owl is back. So I head to the Sacred Forest Meadow. It's actually pretty easy when you can fly. Then I go into the fairy fountain, and it seems as I rise into the air, the fairies do too, which I did not expect to see. Now I'm fully healed, have 3 fairies, so I head to Saria. She teaches me how to play her song, and after that I fly into the Forest Temple. There wasn't much I could do here, I pretty much flew up here and got a key, then I left. The annoying ass owl is waiting for me. Then I make my way to Goron City. I fly over the rocks. Then I wanted to make sure the Goron bracelet worked. I did open the way to Darunia's room. I don't really need anything from him. I just came by to watch his amazing dance moves. Look at him go. I head outside to the Death Mountain Trail. First things first, got to grab the heart piece. Then I blow up the entrance to Dodongo's cavern and head inside. From the bottom floor, I'm able to fly all the way upstairs. I head into the nearby room. And in here, right to my left, is a chest. When I open it, I get the bomb bag and bombs. I head back to the main room to where the Dodongo head is and land in its eye. I blow them both up, which makes the Dodongo head open its mouth like the Deku tree. I head inside its guts to the final part of the dungeon. So I fly up to where the block is, and as I push the block to the center of the room, I take the keys out as I get near to me. With the door open, it's time to face the boss. So I jump down, float around a little bit. The boss fight is pretty easy, to be honest, flying or not. It just takes 3 bombs and 3 jump slashes. So once that's all said and done, I collect the heart container and then I head out. So Darunia shows up and he's just talking to me about stuff and I'm just flying around as he does it. He talks a bit more about some stuff, no one really cares, but he does give me the spiritual stone. So the next stop is Death Mountain itself. So for this part, I don't have a shield. The falling rocks will appear in front of Link, but if you go backwards, well, they'll still appear in front of you, but you can avoid most of, if not all of them, by just running backwards. So I go into the crater to grab a Skulltula, as well as the 2 heart pieces that are in here. I managed to get out just in time, too. So I talk to the fairy, and I get the magic meter. I also try to fly into the fairy fountain itself, and I died. Yeah, I'm the first person in history to die in a fairy fountain in Zelda. Next, I actually go back into the crater as we can go to another fairy fountain. We just fly over these rocks, go inside, play the song, and the fairy will give us the magic meter upgrade. So not bad, went from having no magic to full magic in like a minute. Next, just for fun, we head into the fire temple. Turns out if you can fly, you don't need the boss key. You do need the hammer for this fight, so I just stand around and wait to die. So I take the annoying ass owl back to Kakariko Village. And want to see something cool? You can walk through the fence if you come from Death Mountain Trail. Link can reenact the scene from Terminator 2. I go into the Skulltula house and try to have a look upstairs. Before I leave, I grab the adult's wallet. Next stop, Zora's River. Of course, I have to ignore the annoying ass owl. Stop by the fairy fountain. And I had to fly over the waterfall and go into Zora's domain. I take the Waterfall Express up, fly over King Zora, and I try to break open the bee's nest with my sword, but it doesn't look like I can. So, we're in Zora's fountain. First thing to do is to go to the fairy's fountain. I get Pharrell's wind, and then I bounced off the wall and died in a fairy fountain again. Outside, I head to the right here. There's a ledge with trees that I always wanted a closer look at. Not much to see, can't really land, so I go up to the hidden area that you need to be an adult to get to usually. There is a Skulltula to collect and enemies here as an adult, but I guess they don't spawn when you're a kid. I can fly out though, which is pretty cool. Of course, I had to stop by the ice cavern. I had to use my bombs on these ice guys, as my sword wouldn't damage them. I can fly over this wall here, which is really nice. The next area, I have to collect the giant rupees and try to avoid the keys. I do collect some extra blue fire to keep in my inventory, but we'll get to that later. I fight I guess the boss of the ice cavern, who's just a regular enemy. I do get the iron boots, but Sheik doesn't appear, so I don't learn the song to warp to Lake Hylia. I do stop by Desert Colossus though, because I want to head to the fairy fountain. And like that, Nehru's love is mine. Next, I save and reset. After a reset, I'm back in Whoville with the rest of the Whos. Saria is still outside my house, just standing here. And this kid right here has problems. So apparently I still can't leave, but whatever, I can still fly. I head to Hyrule Castle, and at night you normally can't enter. But to quote that song, I'm like a bird. I'm going to fly into the castle market still. I know I don't have the Lens of Truth, but after 2 or 3 attempts, I get the heart piece from the door keys minigame. I make it day and enter the shop to get some bombs. Then I go to the fairy fountain and get Din's fire. I also stop by the shooting gallery so I can get the bullet bag upgrade. I don't have the slingshot, but I thought this would trick the game into giving me it, like the Goron bracelet with the silver gauntlets. But it turns out it doesn't do that. I enter the Bomb Chew alley, and the random prize this time is bombs. I did do it, but I didn't feel like doing this until a heart piece showed up, so I leave for Zora's River. Head into Zora's domain. Finally, Zora's fountain. I don't have a fish to enter Lord Jabu Jabu, but I can fly, which is almost the same thing. I try to see if I can clip in from on top of his head. Then I try to clip through from the bottom, and it looks like it worked. I'm inside Jabu Jabu's belly. I can fly up and hit this switch without needing the slingshot. I just run through this room to get to this room and talk to Princess Ruto. She falls down what I'm guessing is an ulcer. I jump down after her, we talk some more, then she wants me to carry her, and I fly us back up. I ignore these enemies, and we go into the next area. Off to the right, we go to this switch, and I leave the princess behind. I take these enemies out by flying and jump slashing at them. My reward is Australia's greatest invention, the boomerang. I head back to where I first met Princess Ruto, and she gives me shit for leaving her behind. I pick her up, and we head out. We fly across the room, and I ditch her again. In this room, I try to fly onto this thing that I'm sort of stuck on here, but it looks like I fall through. So I fly up to where I need to be, and I throw the boomerang. Then, I head into the final room. It's time to fight Baronade? I think that's how you say it. It looks like Jabu Jabu's heart or something. So much like the book that was named after the drum solo, Moby Dick, I entered a whale just to go throw a flying stick at its heart while electric flying jellyfish try to kill me, and the heart can shoot lightning at me. After enough hits, Jabu Jabu's heart explodes and he has a stroke. Then I absorb his heart to extend my life energy. Princess Ruto is waiting for us, and she's pretty upset for someone I only spoke to twice. But we do frolic a bit in the water. She lays down some Zora style pillow talk on me, then she gives up that sweet sapphire. Now that we're done here, I head out. I head to Hyrule Castle to see if the Ganondorf cutscene will trigger, but doesn't look like it. I head to the store in Kokiri Forest, and I buy the shield and some other supplies. Then I try to see if touching the items will let me pick them up. I can fly back here, but I can't really move much, and I can't steal the items. I take these enemies out and grab some more supplies as I head for the Great Deku Tree. Is it just me, or is it weird that every child dungeon involves some sort of large being opening its mouth? I feel like I'm entering a giant and killing it from the inside. Speaking of which, I can land on the Deku Tree's nose. I do try to see what's on top of the Deku Tree, but I fall through. Inside, for this web here, I fly up as high as I can go, and I land on it, but it doesn't even budge. Weird. I do fly up to the slingshot room. Navi explains to me how to open a door. The enemy in here I needed the Deku Shield for. I go into the next room, and I grab the slingshot. I pause to check, and wow, I lost my bullet bag upgrade. Whatever, I head out. I try the web once more, still doesn't work. Din's fire will work, I'll tell you that much. I fly up here, Din's fire again. Then I head down. I try to fly above the door, but I can't. So I take these freaks out. Alright, boss time. Goma is actually super easy to take out, barely an inconvenience. The boomerang will cause her to fall and stun her, but she won't take damage. I do take her out though, that's that. All the child dungeons are done in no time. The Deku Tree spends about an hour explaining exposition and lore. He gives me the Kokiri's Emerald that Zelda thought I had, and then he dies. We head to Hyrule Castle to trigger the Ganondorf cutscene. He runs off because he's afraid of my ability to fly. Then I pick up the Ocarina of Time. I try to go flying into space, but then Link starts swimming in the air. Zelda teaches me the Song of Time, which I need for when I get to the Temple of Time. For those of you that don't know, the Temple of Time houses the Master Sword in this game. It's a holy, sacred place that I just fly around outside of, trying to see if I can go out of bounds and land in weird places. Like here, I was flying up and I tried to do a jump slash and I somehow ended up just going inside of the building. Inside I play the Song of Time and open the Door of Time. There it is, the Master Sword. The sword that can defeat Ganondorf. And it's finally mine. Before I grab the Master Sword, while I'm still a kid, there are a few things I want to go back and do. Like the grave digging minigame. It took me a few tries, I did save and load once or twice, but I did get the heart piece eventually. There's also a grave here that has a secret room. In here, if you play the Sun Song, a chest will appear. So take the enemy out, open the chest, and you get a heart piece. I do need to get bugs as well. If you put bugs into a dirt patch, a Skulltula comes out. But like I said, there's some more stuff to do before getting the Master Sword. First stop is Death Mountain. I want to collect some Skulltulas that I missed. Like this one. I stopped by the back room in Goron City to get some money, and the Skulltula in the corner. Then I bombed the spinning jar to try and get a heart piece from it, but it doesn't spawn. Next is the dirt patch in Kokiri Forest, then the heart piece from the Skull Kid. It's hard to believe in a couple years, he'll try to drop the moon on people. Next is the Lost Woods dirt patch number 1. I try my marksmanship to get the bullet bag increase, Lost Woods dirt patch number 2. I do stop by here to play the mini game. The first prize is just money, but if you follow along, play back what they play, the third prize is a heart piece. And I've never actually been up here before. Pretty cool. Then I get the heart piece from the Bomb Chew Alley. After a few more tries, I got this heart piece. While in Goron City, I upgrade my bomb bag. And I stop by Death Mountain for the dirt patch. I grab the Rumble Pack. And I stop by Lon Lon Ranch. I go on top of the buildings. Honestly, there isn't much to see, but for me, it's still really cool because I've never been up here before in all the time that I've played this game. Before I leave though, I make sure to grab the 2 Skulltulas that I didn't grab before. There are some things in Hyrule Field I want to grab too, like this grotto here. Inside, there's a Skulltula. By Lake Hylia, if I bomb here, go inside, this Deku Scrub will sell a heart piece. Outside Gerudo Valley, use the bombs again, and inside here there's a Skulltula. I can also fly up in the air while using Din's Fire, which will still damage enemies and burn webs. In Gerudo Valley there's a Skulltula I forgot. I then jump down the valley, of course landing perfectly. I get the dirt patch Skulltula, then I take the river down to Lake Hylia. I just need the dirt patch Skulltula, and I make a Scarecrow song while I'm here. I go fishing for a fish that this bitch couldn't fish, but for a fish that could the best fish that this bitch fished. And whatever I just said led to a heart piece. Travel back to Desert Colossus for the dirt patch Skulltula. I save, reset, and cut through the Lost Woods to get to Zora's River. I play music to make the frogs big, but then I remembered I need the Song of Storms to get the heart piece. The dirt patch here doesn't spawn a Skulltula, so I head to Zora's Fountain. I grab a Skulltula and enter Lord Jabu Jabu the old-fashioned way. I use my Flying Din's fire attack technique to destroy the Skulltulas. The princess is still here? Maybe she doesn't disappear until the mini-boss is beat. Then I try to see if the game will let me leave. It does, but outside his mouth is still closed. I go into Ice Cavern for the Skulltula, as well as a heart piece. And I make sure to replenish my blue fire, which I'll need for later. In Zora's Fountain, I go over the waterfall. It's like Niagara Falls, but without tourists. I run around where normally you can't go. Not too much to see. Then I go inside and I see the princess is here? This makes me think she has some sort of duplication magic. Then I go into Dodongo's cavern for some Skulltulas. There are 2 in this room with the stairs and bombs. 1 in this hallway. Staying in this hallway, there is a room which has a Skulltula inside. Speaking of which, I head to the Skulltula house, get some bomb chews which I won't need, and the Giant's Wallet, which only holds 500 rupees. The Giant's wallet should hold 999 rupees, especially with a name like Giant's Wallet. This dog agrees with me, so I bring it back to its owner. In exchange, I get a heart piece. I went into the forest temple to grab a skull tula, but just for fun, I went further into the temple. I collected a skull tula, decided to go this direction, made my way here where I fought some enemies and I got a key. I made my way to this open area, got another skull tula. I did fly up onto this ledge here to go into this room where there's this hand. I defeated it, used in fire to get rid of the 3 small ones it turns into, and I get another key. Then I go through this door right here to my left. I fly up the hole in the middle of the room. I skip past this part because I don't have the bow. Luckily, the bow is in the next room. I just have to beat these guys. I can't use it, but at least I got the bow. I go back to the room I flew up into, but I go down the hallway. Navi points out it's twisted. I shoot the eye, head back in, go down the hallway, grab the boss key. Then I save and reset. Next, the Fire Temple. I free the first Goron just to get the key. I enter this area, and I can fly to the area above me. As I fly up here, I notice the doors and stuff didn't really load, so I can't really do anything here, which sucks. So instead, I head this way. I wait for this fire pillar to relax, then I can fly up. Normally there's stuff you have to do here, but I can just fly up. While I'm in this general area, I do try to collect some keys. I don't know how many I'm going to need to get to the hammer, but I'm gonna get as many keys as I can. I end up losing my shield, and this thing is stuck in the air. Such power. Next is the room with a moving firewall. Good thing I got keys, as it seems every other door in here is locked. I fly around in this huge room. I get over here and I remember this being a fake door, so I blow it up. Head inside, and I mean, I could fight this thing. Or I fly up again in this room. I made it to the room with the hammer. I activate the switch, I fly up, and even though I can't use it, I got the Megaton hammer. Then I'll save and reset again. Next stop is the Water Temple. I know it sounds weird, but I can get in here as young Link. The idea is to try and go out of bounds, go underneath the Water Temple, then fly up. I did it first try, but wasn't recording. From this wall here, I have to try and fly up, then fly out, but not too far out, and drop down, but not too far down or I'm out of bounds and die. Then I have to swim up and try to use the map to guide me, even though I don't know exactly where it is on the map. I should have been recording while I was trying, because I would have got it in one try, but whatever. After 10 minutes, I finally got in. Here we go, Water Temple as young Link. So there isn't anywhere I can really go. To my left are 2 locked doors. Over here is the boss room and nowhere to go underneath. Over here I do have somewhere I can go and somewhere I can swim. I try the room I can swim into. I follow the path and I hit a dead end. Because the ceiling is elevated, I can't get back to the lower part. So that went well. I tried the other path, swim below, and the gate here blocks me off. Instead, I head for the boss room. I can clip through the door if I fly up and go through at the right angle. Now I can't fight Morpha, not to mention I don't have any shields I can use at the moment, but I don't have, and even if I could, I can't use the hook shot. Now if I fly up here and I try to change the water level, it doesn't work. So either I need to trigger something or be an adult in order for it to work. I see if I can clip through the ceiling, then seeing how low I can swim. Try clipping through the walls and ceiling some more. Then I went flying out of bounds and died. I respawned and thought I might be able to replicate and control that. I try again and land in one of the paths that was just a dead end. I got out of bounds again, but stuck in somewhere I couldn't get out of. I kept trying over and over, knowing I just had to get lucky and keep filming. Eventually, I land where I need to be. I used Din's fire to try and light the torches, but it doesn't work. I leave and the water loads in, which means... Wow, she grew up a lot in the last couple hours since we last saw each other. Maybe her clone from earlier ages faster. I go into this room, and I'm not really sure how to beat these enemies. It turns out I can use bombs. I got a map, but I was hoping for a key. I head out, and good news, I can change the water level. Groovy. Head down a level to grab a key, head back to the Din's fire thing, use bombs to defeat these enemies. Just what I'm looking for, a key. In the main area, I fly up to raise the water level. I fly across this part that you need the hookshot for. I fly up to this area, and I use my bombs to get rid of the like-alike. Okay, I have no shields and I'm about to fight Shadow Link as Young Link. We dance around a bit, and I'm not too sure how I'm going to fight him. No point in worrying because my boomerang freezes his ass. At this point, I just freeze him and jump slash at him. Deku Sticks and the slingshot damage him while he's frozen. Same with bombs. Blue fire doesn't affect him. And after a while, he goes down. I try flying above the loading ceiling, but it's there, it's just invisible. Well, that was informative. Now I replace my non-existent hookshot with a long shot. Then I save and reset again. In case you're wondering why I do that, it's faster than having to walk back, especially since I don't have any warp songs. Outside, I take the annoying ass owl back to Hyrule Castle. I get some money, then I stock up on supplies. Just farm more money, and restock. I used Young Link for a lot of these sections because I thought it would be interesting to do parts of the game that you normally wouldn't see or use Young Link for. Which leads us to here, the end of the Young Link stuff. I think in terms of equipment, I'm pretty well stocked. I have most of the important items I'll need as an adult. I don't have any shields to use as Young Link though. No other tunics or the hover boots either. But I got 12 hearts and 2 heart pieces. Not that I'm going for all of them, but I got a good amount. 46 Skulltulas, got all the songs I could for now, and even the Desert Colossus Warp. Been to generally every area on the map. Well, I'm as ready as I'll be. Time to grow up. So the game won't let me fly during this cinematic. Turns out Ganondorf used us. I'm just surprised that he's smarter than a child princess and the village idiot. Someone tells me to wake up, told that I've been in the Chamber of Sages for like 7 years. Turns out Link was too small and too young to wield the Master Sword. You think young Link would just use the Master Sword like adult Link uses the big Goron sword. Not like he has to age 7 years to be big enough to wield the big Goron sword. Enraged, I slowly fly away into the ether. The acid trip ends and a ninja shows up. Who knows if they waited 7 years or not, but they waited a while to dump exposition on me. We say our farewells, then I head out. I start by visiting the outside of Ganon's castle. I grab a Skulltula, then I fly over this huge stone that's blocking the way into the fairy fountain. Inside, I get the defense boost, which gives me the white protective barrier around my hearts. Turns out, I can actually fly into Ganon's castle. but I can't dispel the energy barriers without the light arrows. And I don't really need the golden gauntlets right now either. Since there's not much for me to do here, I head out. Turns out not having the rainbow bridge here will cause a death loop when Link tries to leave. I do try to press B and try to jump back and stuff, but Link doesn't move or jump until after he's below the ledge. Next stop is Lon Lon Ranch. So I could race Ingo in order to get Epona, or I could just fly over this wall you normally use Epona to jump over. It turns out that actually worked, and I freed her from the evil Ingo. After that, I head for Zora's River. In Zora's domain, I grabbed the Skulltula at the top of the frozen waterfall. Remember earlier I mentioned needing the blue fire? Well, it was for Homeboy here. And for freeing him, he gives me a tunic that, honestly, I'm never gonna wear. In Zora's Fountain, I got the Skulltula that wouldn't show up when I was a kid. Next, I jump on this icy platform and grab a heart piece. I equip the iron boots to get to the bottom of the lake, allowing me to grab the heart piece. In the ice cavern, I fly up to where you would normally exit after getting the iron boots. I came to see if I can get Sheik to appear. The second I head inside, the cutscene triggers. Sheik tells me if I came here to help the Zoras, I wasted my time. So, I just fly off. I did manage to learn the Serenade of Water, which will allow me to warp to Lake Hylia. I don't know why Sheik didn't show up when I was a kid, because when I went to the Desert Colossus and when I left the Desert Temple, Sheik showed up and taught me that warp song. So really weird that I had to be an adult in order for her to teach me this one. I put the song to good use and warped to Lake Hylia. So let me explain how the fishing pond actually works. This guy here caught a fish. The fish I caught as a kid beat his record, so I got a heart piece as a prize. As an adult, I need to beat the record I set as a kid in order to get an additional prize. After like 5 minutes, I caught the fish I needed. There's a certain spot the big fish usually hangs out at, so I stood in the same spot as before and aimed for the same general area as before too. I turned in the huge fish I caught and was rewarded with the golden scale. I was so excited I almost left with the fishing rod. I do the deep dive in the lab, get a heart piece, collect the money that's down here, and I got the Skulltula. In Hyrule Field, I came across this Poe. You need to collect all of them for the last bottle. Even though it's a pain in the ass and the part of this game I hate the most, I decided to hunt down all the Poes. It did take a while, but at least now I have all the empty bottles. I stopped by the Skulltula house, and I can't remember which one of these guys I already spoke to. Luckily it was a guy I was standing in front of, and for collecting 50 Skulltulas, I got a heart piece. Since it's right outside, I stopped by the shooting gallery. It doesn't take too long to complete, and I get the quiver upgrade. Then I go into the windmill to learn the Song of Storms. I don't know why this guy taught me it because it drives him mental. And I try to enter the hookshot room, but I'm still locked out. Then I'm off to the Dompe race in the graveyard. Even though I have the long shot, I want to race Dompe to see if he'll give me the hookshot or a heart piece. The race isn't too hard. Being able to fly makes this a whole lot easier. I ended up entering before Dompe does. He sort of does mention the hookshot and makes it seem like we raced before, and in the end he left behind the heart piece. In Goron City, I use a bomb to stop the Goron that's rolling around. Turns out he's Darunia's son and he was named after me, and he gives me the best looking tunic in the game. Also, did you know the hammer can break these walls? And I'm not sure if you've ever noticed the hole in the ceiling in this area, but I fly up to see if there's anything up here, but it's pretty much an invisible wall. Next is Death Mountain Crater. Sheik tries coming on to me, but since I'm into Zora, I fly away from her. Sheik does try to teach me the Bolero of Fire, but since I'm not there, she plays the song to no one. It's pretty funny just watching her perform this song to nobody. She bursts into flames and leaves. Before heading for the big Goron sword, I try to enter Gerudo Valley from Lake Hylia. Turns out I can't, but it was worth a try. The reason I wanted to go to Gerudo Valley was for the 2 heart pieces I forgot, like this one in a crate, and the other in Gerudo Fortress in the big chest. Before grabbing the big Goron sword, I fly around in the town market. Basically, I'm trying to see if I could trigger a warp and end up in the child version of town market as an adult. To start the big Goron sword side quest, I talk to Big Bird's mistress, who tells me about pocket meat. Then Link, who does work as an incubator on his side, is tasked with hatching this egg. After it hatches, I scare the shit out of Talon. I tell the chicken lady, and she gives me an Easter chicken. In the Lost Woods, there's a shortcut I can take by flying up to this ledge. I threaten this pale guy with a brightly colored chicken. Then I leave him alone after he calls me a nice guy. In exchange for letting him live, he gives me a mushroom. I take the shortcut I mentioned earlier to get out of the Lost Woods faster. I run through Hyrule Field, fly behind the big house. This old granny wants the mushroom to create a potion to turn young again. Ever since I played Wind Waker, I couldn't get it up anymore, so she gave me a potion to cure that. I laced and cut what was left of it, and this kid didn't have cash to pay me for it, so she gave me a shitty looking carpenter saw. I head back to Gerudo Valley, and with the bridge gone, I have to carefully jump across. I used the shitty saw to threaten this guy into giving me the broken sword he's been using to shave. Back at Death Mountain Trail, I wake up the big Goron. It seems he was left home alone with the family computer one too many times because now he's going blind and I have to get eye drops for him. I kept talking to King Zora and even showed him the broken sword a bunch of times. Then I realized I'm not supposed to have the broken Goron sword. When I was talking to Big Goron, I was flying and he didn't give me any item. I'm supposed to have the prescription, not the Big Goron sword. Luckily I saved right before that, so I reset and I got the prescription. Next I have 3 minutes to deliver this frog before it goes bad. Aside from this here, there isn't much flying can do to save me time. Just have to do this the old-fashioned way. The lab scientist wants to make dinner out of the frog. But when I tell him I'm under order of the king, in order to not get executed, he gives me the eye drops for the big Goron. I will say, for this part here, flying makes getting up Death Mountain Trail a whole lot easier. I can get up to where you throw the bomb flower as a kid in no time. Then, I'm almost at the top. I can just fly up the rest of the way. It did take a bit, but I'm finally here and I give the big Goron his eye drops. Now that he's feeling better, I can finally get that sword. He gives me the claim check and tells me to wait a couple days. So I play the Sun Song a few times to skip forward a couple days. And finally, the best sword in the game, the big Goron sword. To quote Doctor Strange, we're in the endgame now. So, for not doing any of the temples, I seem pretty well stocked. I mean, I don't have every item, but it's crazy how much I could get by flying, without stepping foot into a single temple as an adult. I do need 3 more heart pieces, and even though I won't collect more, I do have 50 out of 100 Skulltulas. So now it's time to do the dungeons. Next I head for the desert temple. So I make my way through the temple, collecting keys and stuff, including fighting invisible enemies. Ultimately, I want to try to make my way into that statue's face. I try flying into the room to open the face, but it won't let me. Which means I'll have to take the long way. Eventually I get to where I need to be. I do what I have to do, and I lower the platform. Luckily for me, the statue is made from vampire stone, so sunlight makes it disintegrate. I don't have the boss key, but I can fly, which means I can clip through things. I go into the next room and God knows what I just walked into. The armor comes to life to fight me, but forgot its weapon. I defeat it and the armor starts to fall off, revealing someone's inside. Turns out, it's someone I never met before. We try to run, but instead we're killed off. And we made it to the boss. I know people usually do this temple last, sometimes second last, but I decided I'm going to do these temples in reverse order. One sister will shoot at you, and you need to reflect it to hit the other sister. After enough hits, they fuse like this is Dragon Ball Z or something. Just absorb the same element 3 times in a row and hit her with it. Then all you have to do is hit her with the big Goron sword 3 times and she's done. Now that she's out of power, she unfuses and dies. Then we get the spirit medallion for beating the temple. We land back outside, and then I get ready to head off for the next temple. With the desert temple done, next is the shadow temple. I will say flying makes this pretty easy, especially since I'm doing this without the hover boots or lens of truth. This part of the temple really overdoes it with the spiders. 5 feet from the first one is a second one. Then you walk down some more and you get hit by a third one. And right around the corner is another one. Man, I've played this game so much, I even know where the invisible items are. The best part here is with the boat. Instead of taking the boat and fighting enemies, I just fly across. I can even land on these ledges I didn't think would have collision. And like that, I get across pretty easily. I fly over the spike wall to get the boss key. Then I grab another small key. Then Navi stops me to ask how we can reach a door that's so far away. Next we fight Bongo Bongo, who's still a better drummer than Lars Ulrich. Honestly, if you need the lens of truth to beat Bongo Bongo, you're a coward. I mean, look at how easy this is. When he comes at you, shoot between the hands. I've dealt with bigger one-eyed monsters than this guy. And after being poisoned by Lars Ulrich out of jealousy, Bongo Bongo dies. There we go, Shadow Temple's done. We get the medallion, then we head out. Before the next temple though, I stock up on blue potions. The water temple is next. So I enter the old-fashioned way, make my way to the boss room, slip through the boss door. And this boss fight isn't hard once you know what to do. But just because it's not hard doesn't mean it's easy. It's still tedious and annoying. But with a big Goron sword, it doesn't take so long. And like that, the water temple's done. Talk to Rudo, then we get our medallion. Now, these cinematics are weird without Link. I flew really high in the air, so he won't be visible in them. But man, these cinematics really make no sense without Link being in them. Next, I warp to Death Mountain Crater. The Fire Temple is going to be another quick temple. Upon entering, I go left. Hey, it's Darunia. Fly around to get through the boss door. And now that I'm an adult, I can finally fight the boss of the Fire Temple. He's pretty cool. I mean, he looks a bit like Shenron from Dragon Ball, just evil and fire covered. It honestly doesn't take too long. When he tries to drop the rocks on me, I just fly around. After a while, that's that. It's weird that he's like a fire dragon, but then he bursts into flames, and that kills him. I break open his skull, and inside, I get a heart container. We have 4 temples down, and 1 left to go. So let's get the medallion, and head out of here. I enter the Lost Woods on my way to the Forest Temple, and now this kid won't let me leave. Did you know in the Sacred Forest Meadow, you can use the hammer or bombs to enter the secret? Take these 2 enemies out, and you'll be rewarded with 50 rupees. Back outside, I fly past the guards. Then I try to hit one on the head from above with the hammer, but I can't. The big annoying guy gets me in the air, and I go flying back. So I hit him. He overreacts, bursts into flames, and dies. If I enter the next area, this cinematic will start playing. So I try to fly above it in order to bypass it, but it doesn't work. Sheik then teaches me this song, the Minea Forest? I don't know how to say it. I don't need it though, because it's time for the last temple, the Forest Temple. I make my way to the first temple Po. After 2 good hits from the big Goron sword, he's done. I head for the second Po, I shoot all 3 paintings, and I get him to show up. Then, almost right away, I take him out. The third one is weird. You have to shoot the painting and these blocks fall down. Make sure to move the blue one out of the way, and push the rest together. Then, take him out just like the others. The last one is in the main room crying. I try to shoot her, but it has no effect. I bet she's upset I killed her 3 siblings. All she does is spawn with 3 clones, and the real one spins around so you know it's her. After a few arrows, she'll go down, and the final torch lights up. Now I can take this thing downstairs. I try to fly up to an unloaded area to get around the gate that's blocking me and skip doing all the stuff I have to do in this final room, but it didn't work out. The final room isn't hard or anything, you basically push these little walls around. The room shuffles and you need to hit all these switches. After getting all the switches, the gate opens to the boss room. Not bad, but time consuming. I do have the boss key, but I want to try to fly up and see if I can clip through the door. Doesn't really seem to be working. In the boss room, I fly over this little barrier thing. There isn't anything to see here, but still, I've never been in this part of the boss room or seen anyone here, so it was pretty cool to run around. I also fly around to see if I can clip out of bounds. I was curious if I could go through the ceiling or the wall, but it doesn't look like I can. The boss this time is Phantom Ganon. He's like regular Ganon, just with a really cool mask. You know what? I'm going to get a Prince Albert that looks like that mask. You have to shoot him as he comes out of these paintings, and I found out the long shot will damage him too. I try to fly up and jump slash him as he's coming out of the painting, but it doesn't seem to damage him. After enough hits, this next stage of the fight starts, and he starts to shoot energy blasts at you that you need to hit back. After a while, he starts to hit the energy back at you, and each time it gets faster and faster. If it hits him, he'll fall to the ground, and enough sword attacks will put him away. Ganon mentions we might have gained some slight skill, despite me killing all the bosses at this point. Then he says he's sending his phantom to the gap between dimensions? I wonder if that's the Twilight Realm where Ganon gets banished to. Makes sense since Phantom Ganon was in Wind Waker. Wait, if Phantom Ganon was in Wind Waker, then why wasn't Phantom Ganon in Twilight Princess? Plot hole, explain that, EJ Aonuma, if that is your real name. Saria gives us the Forest Medallion, and like that, all the temples are done in record time. Afterwards, I spawn outside the Great Deku Tree, and there's this weird thing growing out of the ground. Link goes in for a closer look, and he tries to see if he can smoke it, but it comes alive, and it ends up killing him. He tells the stupid people and the kids not paying attention that Link is a Hylian and not a Kokiri. Then he dumps exposition on us. Afterwards, I see he has a light radiating down on him. I wonder where it's coming from, so I fly up to investigate. As I get close, it disappears. I drop down, and it reappears. I try again, but as I get close, it closes. I guess this is God's way of keeping me out of heaven. I save and reset, putting me back at the Temple of Time. We talk for a little bit. After an exposition dump, the greatest plot twist in Zelda history happens. Sheik turns out to be Zelda. Zelda remembers that day 7 years ago, and I remember it like it was yesterday. She gives me the light arrows, and it looks like we're in Attack on Titan because the rumbling's starting. I guess Eren Yeager won. Ganondorf then uses his magic to kidnap Zelda, and I imagine that ability must come in handy when he places orders for pickup. Hungry, I head to his castle to try to order some wings. Navi suggests we look for someone who might know something about the other sages. And in this cutscene, Link holds the big Goron sword in one hand. This guy's pretty jacked. Makes me wish he could dual wield them. Then, Link's My Little Pony friends summon a magic friendship bridge for him, and we're able to enter Ganon's castle. Did you know you can roll through these enemies without getting damaged? Anyways, flying helps a lot in here. Certain areas or obstacles are easier to get around. Not to mention having to hit specific targets. Unfortunately, even though I can fly to this bridge, I can't use the exit up here. I try to fly through the barrier here and clip into the next area, but it doesn't look like the game's going to let me. In the Shadow Temple room, I can pretty much fly through the whole thing and avoid all the enemies. While I'm here though, I might as well grab the golden gauntlets. Too bad I don't have the hover boots to match. When I lift up the giant rock, I fly up at the same time and it goes flying right through the center room. I do the same with the one that's inside the Fire Temple room. It doesn't land where it's supposed to. It ends up going right through the lava. Then I fly around and collect the rest of the rupees I need to finish this room. Flying did help a bit in the first Forest Temple room, and it made collecting the rupees to open the locked doors a whole lot easier. In the Water Temple room, I'm annoyed at A, it's ice themed and doesn't really have anything to do with the Water Temple. B, I can't get around this annoying wall here. And C, I have to use a blue potion in order to get the blue fire so I can progress through this room. Now that I saved the sages, the barrier goes down. It's really annoying that I couldn't fly through, but whatever. Can't clip through everything. I fly up to the bridge again to see if I can use the exit, but yeah, it stops me again. And I do try to use the other entrance, but doesn't look like either work. I make my way to Ganondorf. I have to fight some enemies along the way. I also had to fight these guys in order to get the boss key. And you know what? This is probably the most useless boss key in the entire game. Before Ganondorf, there's 2 Iron Knuckles. Pretty easy if you hit both of them at once. And alright, here we are in Ganondorf. Zelda's here, and despite being in a giant crystal, she's okay. Ganondorf shoots purple at me, which in his culture means it's time to fight. Hitting him midair won't work, so much like the Phantom Ganon fight, we have to play a bit of back and forth. Then hit him with a light arrow and damage him with jump attacks. The big Goron sword makes this fight a whole lot easier, and after 2 rounds of this, it's over. Ganondorf then destroys the place, and now Zelda shows up, coming down in her magic crystal. Then she breaks free, and the tower starts to shake as it's about to collapse. And now we have to make our way down the tower, waiting for Zelda to open the way every time. Enemies show up, and I have to defeat them to free Zelda. After 2 minutes, we make it to the end. Before we leave, I try to fly off the bridge out of bounds. No doors are loaded, and the part you can't see isn't even loaded in. We head outside and watch as the tower collapses. Then Navi apologizes for being useless, and Link flies in the air to slap her. I fly out of bounds, but can't land as nothing out here is solid. I then try to loot Ganon's body, but of course, he isn't dead. He never really is. And because Ganondorf looked at the full moon, he's able to turn into his most powerful form, Ganon. Then he disarms Link by sending the Master Sword flying. Luckily for me, I'm not just good looking, but I'm very intelligent. That's why I was smart enough to get the big Goron sword earlier. The game glitches out for some reason. Then, the fight begins. I try to fly over Ganon, but he still hits me. To be honest, flying isn't going to help me much in this fight. I'm just going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. I try flying up super high to get over the flame wall, but I can't. And after what seems like forever, he finally goes down. It's temporary, but it allows me to get the Master Sword. But I only need it for the final blow. I try flying out of bounds again. I tried to see what the understage looked like. I ended up flying through the stage, and ended up back in the fight. Then I switched back to the big Goron sword. The fight's pretty much getting behind him and hitting his tail. You can use the big Goron sword or the hammer. To make things easier, you can shoot him in the face with a light arrow, stunning him. Just make sure the last hit is with the Master Sword and the fight's over. Zelda uses her power to pin Ganon down. Then the Master Sword glows as it's hungry for Ganon's blood. And the game comes to an end as we deliver the final blow. Zelda then prepares a Spirit Bomb. We then see the sages combine their power to open a gate to seal away Ganon. Ganondorf isn't too happy about this, and Zelda wants the Ocarina back from Link. She wants to send him back in time to relive his childhood. Link thinks it over, but decides nah, and flies away, much to Zelda's chagrin. Now that Ganon is gone, peace breaks out and infects the people of Hyrule. After the events of the future, we find ourselves in the past, where young Link confronts young Zelda.
I have to go now. My planet needs me.
That was a lot of fun, and I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I knew it would be game-breaking, but I didn't know to what extent. Like, I got a lot of items early. I got a lot of stuff early. Heart pieces, Skulltulas. I mean, like, as young Link, I was able to explore most of Hyrule. That was really cool. Like, a lot of the dungeons I did as young Link. I was really hoping to find a way where I could enter an area, say, in the child timeline or the adult timeline, and come out on the opposite timeline. Like, for example, if I entered a dungeon as, say, adult Link, but I came out and Hyrule was in the child Link, like the young Link timeline, that would have been really cool, but I wasn't able to find anything like that. The Water Temple, that was really cool, being able to go out of bounds and stuff, so really enjoyed it. I would say Ocarina of Time, if someone had to put a gun to my head and said, what's your favorite game, you had to pick one, I would say Ocarina of Time. I love that game. I mean, I have 2 copies on N64. I got an additional copy as to not wear out my original one. I have it on 3DS. I have a bunch of amiibos for Zelda. I have the Ocarina of Time ones, of course. Even some figures. And soon, Phantom Ganon, Prince Albert, so that will be a lot of fun. Make sure you're subscribed so you can see that. Before we wrap up though, I want to show you guys something cool that I found. After you get the light arrows from Zelda and the cinematic plays, if I make my way back here, the cinematic that plays after beating the Forest Temple will play, meaning Sheik was just standing back here the whole time. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.